We should set out in opposition the legal changes necessary to ensure that anyone who comes here illegally is detained and is swiftly deported. That will only be possible by leaving the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights. It's the ECHR that is equipping illegal migrants with an arsenal of laws to prevent their removal. We can't just ignore the court's judgments. We're a common law nation. We can't reform it either. That would require agreement of all 46 member states, from Iceland to Andorra. That is a fantasy. So after years of prevaricating, we must resolve this question for good. It is leave or remain. And I'm for leave.
Well, let's just sit on a shelf for a moment that the European Convention on Human Rights protects our right to a fair trial, freedom of assembly and expression, the right to participate in free elections, freedom of religion, freedom from discrimination, the right to privacy, freedom from torture and degrading treatment. The ECHR has also protected British people from abuses of power by its own government. And leaving the ECHR could result in the UK's trade deal with the EU being terminated because the convention is written into the 2020 Trade and Cooperation Agreement. And if all that's not enough to convince you we should remain, leaving the ECHR would also be a breach of the Good Friday Agreement, which requires that the convention be directly enforceable in Northern Ireland.
You're going to have to leave the ECHR and create our own British Bill of Rights.
Well, let's be clear on this. The course of action Jenrick is proposing, should his party again be elected to government, presupposes we can actually trust the party or government proposing that course of action with our human rights in the first place. When this lot were last in power just months ago, they repeatedly tried to curtail our human rights under the existing convention we're already a part of. In fact, according to International Human Rights Watch, under the last government, the UK was on course to make the list of countries that abuse rather than protect human rights, thanks to the Conservatives' outright onslaught on the rights of its own citizens. Just think about that. And it's easy to see why. During their time in office, they passed new anti-strike laws designed to rob millions of workers of their democratic right to strike, force them to work against their will, and allow them to be sacked if they refused. And that included doctors, nurses, teachers, and many other public sector workers. An Elections Act locked millions of people out of the electoral process, a blatant act of voter suppression by the then Tory government. A new law stripped back our right to protest and limited our rights to judicial review, an affront to the very principles of fairness and government accountability. So please remember all that next time you hear Jenrick or any other politician say this.
It is leave or remain. And I'm for leave.
If we want to avoid a dangerous chain of events which could one day see Britain joining Russia and Belarus as the only European countries outside the ECHR, we need to constantly call out this insane drumbeat from the right to leave. So please do share this film with family and friends.